Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Screenstars and welcome to another PlayStation review. Today's review, I'm taking a look at Marvel Midnight Suns. This game is brought to us by Firaxis, who, they are the geniuses behind the XCOM series. So therefore, everybody assumed, myself included to a large degree, that this game was going to be Marvel XCOM to a large degree. And while there is obviously the DNA of XCOM in this game, it is definitely a different take on the turn-based strategy game. And I think it is certainly a refreshing take on the game because there are so many turn-based strategy games on the market now, and they are amongst my favourites. However, these days almost tend to kind of copy each other, and they were all getting a little bit tired and generic. So I think we did need a little bit of a twist on the genre, and I think this game does that to a large degree and is largely successful. And I have to say, guys, this is amongst one of my most enjoyable games of the year. I have been having a blast with this game. I think it is absolutely wonderful. I'm not going to lie. I've seen some really quite positive reviews for this game, and I've seen some middling reviews for this game, and it seems like there are elements of this game that some people are struggling to warm to, and we'll talk about those, and I can understand why it wouldn't be to everybody's taste, some aspects of this game. So what are we talking about here with Marvel Midnight Suns? Well, essentially there is a new threat. There is Lilith, the Queen of Demons. She has come back after a long hiatus, and she's taken on the Avengers, and she's been largely successful. So Doctor Strange decides to resurrect a 300-year-old superhero called Hunter, which essentially is going to be you. And that is when you get to create and customize your very own character. You can either be a male or female, and there are a fairly wide array of customizable options, but, not massively so. And then you're thrust into the game as this character Hunter. You're a character out of time. You are placed at a place called the Abbey, which is the home of the Midnight Suns. So you've got Magic, Nico, Blade, and Ghost Rider. And the Avengers join them in the Abbey to fight back against Lilith. So initially, at the beginning of the game, you've got the characters I've just mentioned from the Midnight Suns, and then you've got Tony Stark, Iron Man, Doctor Strange, and Captain Marvel, things like that. And then as the game progresses, you unlock new characters. You've got Wolverine, Spider-Man, Captain America. The list goes on. I think up to 13 heroes you unlock. And there are more on the way with some DLC. And then the Abbey is your base of operations. Now, there are aspects of this game that, as I've said, are very much taking its DNA from XCOM, but it's also taking little bits of inspiration and DNA from games like Dragon Age Inquisition, things like that. In the game, in regards to how you explore your home base and talk to characters and things like that, because you can have conversations with your comrades at the Abbey. In fact, there's so much you can do at the Abbey, it's almost a game in itself. Now, the game is almost in two halves, and the routine of your day is you will wake up in the morning and there's things you need to do within the Abbey, like general housekeeping things. You'll have to go to some place called the Forge, which is a place that you go and you get items that you've won on your last mission that Tony Stark will then unlock and open, and they will then become fresh cards. Because essentially the massive difference between this and XCOM is this is a card-based battle game. That might put some people off. When I initially found out this was going to be a card-based, turn-based game, I wasn't particularly looking forward to that. I'm not a massive fan of card-based games, but this works wonderfully, and it lets it stand out from the crowd in regards to turn-based games. And certainly it stands out from games like the XCOM games. So you'll unlock new cards at the Forge that you can add to your decks. All your characters have got their own card decks that you can edit as you unlock new cards. You can strengthen the cards you've got in your deck to make them more powerful, and you could do all that within the Abbey. There's artifacts that Doctor Strange can unlock that will give you things that you'll need in the game, hero essence, skill essence, and all these things are used to upgrade cards, upgrade items, allow you to train in the Abbey, all this kind of stuff. I mean, there's so much to do in the Abbey. It's really a game in itself. It's almost Persona 5 in its approach. You know, it's like a relationship game as well, because you've got to build relationships with your teammates. That might put some people off because they might be uncomfortable seeing, you know, you having gentle conversations with characters like Blade and things like that, or talking about everyday things and the stresses of life with Peter Parker and Doctor Strange and Tony Stark. You might not be used to seeing that from your superheroes, but I think it actually grounds them a little bit. I can understand why some people might not be overly keen on it. Some of the dialogue is a little bit tame. It's almost like it's quite teeny, the writing here. It's like a teenage soap opera to some degree, but it's also quite witty at the same time. The characters you expect to be funny, Peter Parker, Iron Man, are quite witty. And I think they definitely stand out. You know, Doctor Strange is quite snobbish. You've got Blade, who can be quite grumpy, Wolverine, all that kind of stuff. They all have the personality traits you would expect them to have, just not necessarily the ones you've got used to seeing on the big screen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think what frustrates me a lot with Marvel games is everybody compares them to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I'm sorry, but as much as I enjoy those films, as much as I enjoy Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark and Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange, I want to see different variations of these characters, because those aren't the only characters that exist, the ones on the big screen. There are other versions as well. And I think this game is quite comfortable in the way it portrays its characters. They all behave how you would expect them to behave for the most part. And they all say things you kind of expect them to say for the most part. And I actually really enjoy it. I enjoy exploring the Abbey, because you can explore the Abbey and find things. You can unlock chests, you can explore the grounds, unlock new areas, find secrets and mysteries, and it's really quite in depth. You know, you've got a lot to do during the day before you then can choose a mission to go into. Some people might find that a distraction. They might just want to get straight into the action. Other people, like myself, really like that distraction, and I like the fact that they've put a lot of effort into it, because they could have done a fairly basic game in a sense of you get lots of combat and then you go back to your home base for 2 or 3 minutes, do some menial tasks, and then back into the combat again. Some people might have preferred that, but I really like the effort they've put into your home base, the Abbey. It feels like after each mission, you need to wind down, you need to chill out, you need to build relationships with your comrades, and it's not just pointless either. You are rewarded for building relationships with your comrades. It'll make them stronger. It will unlock new customizable options, because you can customize all the characters in the game. You can change the way they look in the Abbey in like their casual clothes, or you can even change the way they look in battle with new costumes and new colours and stuff to unlock. And you can unlock these kind of with in-game currency, and that's currency that you earn within the game, even though there is microtransactions in the game, which I think is a major minus point. There are some like legendary outfits that you can unlock, and different color options for these legendary outfits that you can unlock using credits that you've bought with real money, if you like, which I think is a bit of a downside. I won't ever spend money on it, but some people may choose to do it. So you've got all this stuff that you can do at the Forge. You can train with characters, your favourite characters, which will build their relationships and make them stronger. Upgrading your cards. You can build items for combat to give you an advantage in combat. Building relationships with your comrades, exploring the grounds, customising your characters, editing your card decks, inviting characters to havens, which essentially is as you discover new places in the grounds, like fishing spots or the pool or whatever it may be. There's a few places to discover. You can then invite your fellow Avengers or Midnight Suns to these spots to kind of enhance the relationship and chat to them and stuff. But you can also have like hangouts with some of the people in the abbey. You can kind of watch a movie with them, play video games, read a book, meditate, all that kind of stuff. All sounds quite tame, I know, but I actually quite like it, and I think it's quite a lot of fun. And there's also other things you can do. You can help arrange parties for someone who's having a birthday, all this kind of stuff. Might sound like it's not exactly, macho superhero stuff, but I actually quite like the fact that it's quite grounded and gives a new perspective on these superheroes and makes them feel a little bit more real as well, to a large degree. There's also research that you can do at the Abbey to unlock new things, to improve the Abbey and give you more advantages in combat that allow you to shove items at people, all this kind of stuff. And then you've got the real high point of the game, in my opinion, which is the combat. I just think it's marvellous. Absolutely marvellous. And I am an absolute veteran of the XCOM games and turn-based strategy games. I absolutely love them. And I think this is amongst the best I've ever played in regards to it. I think the animations are fabulous when you're doing these super moves. I think the characters look brilliant in the game. And then the way the combat works is obviously there's no percentages anymore because these are superheroes. They ain't going to miss. So you can pretty much go anywhere you want on the map. And then you choose a card, and some of them might be basic cards, some of them might be knockback cards, so you can knock them into other characters or into things that are going to explode. Or you've got like skill cards that'll give you an advantage in the combat. You've got heal cards, some characters can heal other characters. And then you've got your heroic card, which is like your special cards that each of the superhero has in their decks to kind of give you a massive advantage, and these cards will do you massive damage. I think it's really, really cool. It's turn-based. You don't hide behind objects. You don't need to. You're superheroes. And you just got to basically take out the enemies on the maps. That's not all you do on the maps. There are other things that you will do, like capture people, rescue civilians, retrieve pieces of equipment, fight supervillains. There's a number of supervillains in the game. I won't spoil many of them in there. By watching this review, you've certainly seen one of them. There are others in the game, and there's a lot more heroes to discover as well during the story missions. So you've got like your story missions that you go into that are really cool, and then you've got like your side missions as well that you can go into. Which essentially are, they don't continue the story, but they will allow you to kind of get extra resources and help level up characters, all that kind of stuff. And the leveling up sort of thing just kind of makes them a little bit stronger sort of thing, and you don't have to worry too much. If you'd only like playing as like 4 or 5 different characters, there are other characters in the game that they won't be underpowered. They kind of level up 2 or 3 levels below you sort of thing as you progress through the game. So you never really have to worry too much about that. There are some characters you have to take on missions, and there are other characters that you can kind of pick and choose as well. There are side ops that you can do, which is where you choose a character and send them off, and you don't take part in these ones directly. They'll go away and do this mission, come back the next day, and you'll get like some rewards depending on the difficulty of the mission. It might be new cards or a rare item or something like that. So I think this game is wonderful. Definitely amongst my favourite games of the year, if not my favourite game of the year so far. I've not had any major issues with the game. I've had no crashes, other than a little bit of popping here and there, and the odd glitch on some of the animations, hero animations in battle. I've had no issues to speak of really here. I actually think the game looks pretty good, especially in combat on the maps. I think the characters look distinct. I think they're colourful. I think the Abbey stuff looks all right. It's a little bit dated in regards to some of the graphics. I think that in the Abbey and things, it looks a little bit plasticky and cartoony, but I think it's absolutely fine. I don't have a problem with it. The voice acting, I think, is of a really high level. I don't have an issue with that. I like the music. I like the sound. I like the production values of the game, and I like the effort that Firaxis has put in here. I think they've delivered a top-notch Marvel turn-based strategy game that I am absolutely loving. So I'm going to give this one a 9 out of 10. I can't give you massive faults with this game. If there are aspects of this game that don't sound appealing to you, you might not enjoy them. I can't imagine anybody not enjoying the combat, if I'm honest. But maybe the relationship side of things, building relationships with characters, might not be for everybody. But I personally have quite enjoyed that aspect of the game as well. So I hope you enjoyed this review. I really hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for watching. I will, of course, be back with more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.